Good morning, everyone. It is 9:03, and I'm going to call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. We do have a quorum of 6. Still missing 1. Hopefully they'll join us sooner than later. So the first item is the consent agenda. Planning Commission may request for a consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for presentation and public comment. Otherwise, the consent agenda will be considered in one vote. All items on the consent agenda have been recommended for approval by staff with no opposition received to date. Since some items on the consent agenda may require a public hearing, the Commission will accept public comment on any item on the consent agenda in one public hearing. So I'm going to pull item 7. Does anyone else have items they'd like to pull off the consent agenda? Anyone else? All right, are the minutes for last month?
I don't see any of the corrections that I sent. What I have here is the same basically as what we got in the email. I sent corrections to you, Sherry, and it copied everybody. Friday.
I received.
You check your email.
I apologize, I did not.
Yeah, well, so I'd like to table the minutes then.
Okay. Just pull the minutes and set them aside. Okay, anyone else want to make a motion?
Travis, before you do that, I just wanted to quickly ask, I know items 6 and 7 are related. 6 is the preliminary plat.
Sure.
For the same subdivision that you.
Yes, let's do both. If you don't mind, that'd be great.
And your question may not relate to the preliminary plat, so that's fine to go ahead and approve that. But I just wanted to make sure you knew that if you needed to pull both of them, depending on what your question is.
Yeah, if you don't mind pulling them both, I think that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to pull the minutes 6 and 7, the minutes, and then items 6 and 7. Does anyone want to make a motion for the remaining items?
I'll make a motion to approve the remaining.
Second.
All right, so Brittany and Luke have first and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Yes? Sorry, thank you, Brandon. I'm going to open this up for public comment on the consent agenda only. Anyone wishing to speak on any of these cases, please come forward and state your name and address for single member district. All right, I'm going to close public comment and take a vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda except for the minutes and items 6 and 7, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So 5-0. 6-0. 6-0. Okay. Items 6 and 7. Let me read these in right quick. RP 2311, third replat of Park Heights Addition, Block 31. A request for approval of a third replat of Park Heights Addition, Block 31, being lots 1D, 2D, and the west half of Lot 2E. Amended second replat in Block 31, Park Heights Addition, according to the plat filed in Cabinet D, Slide 317, Plat Records, Tom Green County. I don't think that's...
Did you want Adrod or?
No, I want Adrod.
Okay, Adrod. Okay. Sorry, we had the numbering wrong on.
So it's 7 and 8. All right, so let's go back. I'm sorry. So we have the, we got the numbering wrong. So on the consent agenda,
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you, Miss Sherry updated the agenda, so that's the reason they're off. You had it right. It-
okay.
Sorry about that.
It's changed. I see that now. Okay, so 6 and 7. All right, it's Ad-Rod. So preliminary plat, 2307 A-Rod subdivision, or excuse me, Ad-Rod subdivision, a request for approval of a preliminary plat of the Ad-Rod sub, Lot 1 and Lot 2 being 5 acres located in the 3400 block of Lake Drive, and a variance from the subdivision ordinance, section 3A2 to allow pavement width of 30 feet in lieu of the minimum 36 foot, which is less than the standard of 48 feet. And then a final plat, 2322, Ad-Rod subdivision, Lot 1, a request for approval of a final plat and a variance from the subdivision ordinance, section 3A2, to allow pavement width of 30 feet in lieu of 36 for Ad-Rod sub, Lot 1 being 4.839 acres of land out of C. Sander, SUR, number 316, abstract number 1868 being 4.839 acre tract described and recorded instrument number 202107767 OPR, Tom Green County, Texas.
Okay. Zach Rainbow, Planning Manager. As you mentioned, this is the preliminary and final plat for the Ad-Rod subdivision. This plat was previously approved by y'all with the variance. The sidewalk ordinance is now changed in the pavement width, so it does meet the standard now for that. The dedication, I believe, needed an extra 2 feet. The reason for the variance request, it's the same one that was approved last time.
Okay.
What happened was, it was approved as a preliminary, Lot 1 and 2. The owner of Lot 2 did not want to participate. The preliminary plat allows the owner of Lot 1 to continue by preliminary platting, leaving 2 off of the final plat. So the final plat, that entire piece was 5 acres. The final plat, the large lot is vacant. Large lot 1, it's almost the entirety of the 5 acres, leaving out .161 for lot 2, which has the existing house. So the variances requested were the same ones considered last time. I believe it's a minor 2 to 3 foot dedication of pavement. Engineering did not have an issue with it. PC approved it last time. Staff is recommending approval again of the preliminary. Again, the preliminary is 5 acres, 2 lots. This final plat would be approved as 1 lot for a new single-family home to be constructed in RS1 zoning. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so am I looking at the wrong tract of land here? Is this Audrey Estates part of the?
It's the next one.
That-
Audrey is the next item on the agenda.
Okay, maybe my paperwork's mixed up here. Okay, I see it now. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Anyone have questions? I think you guys have addressed my concerns. Anyone else have questions for the staff? I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this case, please come forward. All right, I'm going to close public comment and take a motion or opinions from my colleagues here.
Move to approve as presented.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Luke and Brittany. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 6-0. All right. Now we're on to the regular agenda, subdivision plats. The Planning Commission has final authority for approval. Appeals may be directed to the City Council. FP 2323, Audrey Estates, Section 1, a request for approval of a final plat and variance request, Chapter 9, 3B2 of the Land Development and Subdivision Ordinance. Section 1 being 19.921 acres out of Washington County Railroad Company Survey 175, abstract number 4030, Tom Green County, Texas, and being out of a 20.659 acre tract as described in instrument number 2022082229, Tom Green County, Texas.
Thank you, Planning Commissioner Sherry Bailey, almost forgot, Senior Planner. This is in the ETJ, and I know that you have looked at your staff report and were able to discern that. The location is at the very northern area of the city of San Angelo. It is the northern border does touch the Farm to Market Road 2105. There's a thin section of land that's between the city limits at the top and this subdivision that is proposed. But when you get down to the Lot 8 and that area, it does butt up against the city of San Angelo. They are proposing to have water through the Concho Valley Water District. There are 13 lots, and as I indicated, it's in the ETJ, and so there is no zoning. This is a unique piece of property. It's an undeveloped piece of property in an area where there has not been much development that has occurred. That has presented a particular problem to both the staff and to the applicant because essentially there are really no roads in that area. As you can see, the red outline is the property that they are proposing to subdivide, and the nearest zoning in the city is Ranch and Estates, just to give you a feel for where it's located. And then Clover's Drive will be the only existing east-west access road, and that will have to be improved eventually when it is built down in that area. The second problem that befalls this piece of property is that under the future thoroughfare plan, it does have a minor collector, both north-south and then a connecting east-west, and it does bisect the piece of property. And working with the applicant, we have discussed many approaches that the applicant would like to bring forward. One of those was he may ask to move that to the boundary road that is on the east side, but in so doing, he would have to include that development of that road totally within his property. He has not submitted at this time a request to have an amendment to the future thoroughfare plan, and we would need to consider that amendment and bring it in for both approval by the Planning Commission and the City Council. If he was to go with just a half road and push it to the boundary. And as I said, we have not received that application at this point. The applicant has asked for a variance. He has asked for a variance because in this case, we have a unique section of the ordinance, the land development ordinance that comes into play. There is here new streets that are being developed. The one street, the one that goes north and south, that is on the eastern edge of his subdivision, which is a border street, but it's entirely within the perimeter of the property to be subdivided. And according to our ordinance, the development of that border street must be a full street, and it must have curb gutter, and cannot be a half street. And so the applicant is asking for a variance from that requirement. In going through his variance, staff believes that the half-street design in this particular case, since it's the only street that will have development within that entire rural area, it just does not meet the public safety considerations. And if I could, I'm going to go back to the plat for just a moment. There are two areas on the plat. This one here and this one here, where, as it's presented by the applicant, is extremely narrow. We believe it's 30 feet or less. And in that case, we just don't believe that that is enough, even if you were to entertain the consideration of a variance. It's not wide enough for that area, particularly when they're having to jog around that development area. In looking at conditions that are unique to this property, staff does not believe that there are any conditions that are unique to this property, except for the fact that it is a completely undeveloped property in an area that has not had any development. And we don't believe that that qualifies as unique to this piece of property. And we don't believe there are any physical surroundings that also would impact the request for a variance. And we do not believe that granting the variance would maintain the provisions of the ordinance, particularly when there's a single section of the ordinance that particularly relates to the uniqueness of that north-south street. So staff is recommending approval of the subdivision, but we are recommending denial of the request for variance. There are 8 conditions of approval. First one being the copy of the Tom Green County Appraisal District certification. We are also asking, prior to plat recordation, submit a request for a future thoroughfare plan map amendment, which relocates that minor collector to the eastern edge, if that's what the applicant wants to do. The third one is if the developer intends to request annexation of future dedication of water distribution system must be designed and constructed that matches the city requirements. If they're not going to ever ask for annexation, then we understand that that does not apply. But we believe once the property is sold that that may happen in the future. Number 4, there is no city sewer main that exists within 200 feet of the property, hence the design and construction of the wastewater collection system is not required that it meets city standards, but it does have to meet the standards for the Tom Green County Environmental Health Department, and a suitable study must also be submitted for that. Number 5, prior to plat recordation, a drainage study shall be submitted. In this case, it does need to meet all of the requirements because of the size of the property, the 19 acres. Number 6, prior to plat recordation, prepare and submit plans for approval illustrating the required construction of Clover Lane with curb and gutter to the Eckridge Lane, meeting the requirements for a local road. So that will be the continuation of Clover Lane. Number 7 is the section that I referenced before, the new streets bounding, but within the perimeter of the property to be subdivided. And it goes on to very specifically call out the design of the property, the design of the street, stating that the subdivider shall also improve such street in compliance with all standards and specifications of the city of San Angelo, including installation of curbs and on both sides of the street. The also very specifically states the dedication of half-street rights-of-way will not be permitted in these circumstances, nor will the construction of half the width of street pavement. Prior to plat, recordation, prepare and submit plans for approval illustrating the construction of a retaining lane with curb and gutter. And with that, against. Staff is recommending approval. We have a note referencing the fire code, but staff is recommending approval of the application for the subdivision, but we're recommending denial of the variance. And I would bet there's a lot of questions.
There's only a few that I can think of.
Here, can you go back to the slide with the future thoroughfare, please?
Yes.
That also lines up with the subdivision to the north of 21.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Road-wise.
so the future thoroughfare on the east, or on the slide to the right, that's technically going right through a single owner's property, is that correct?
Yes, it does.
So would a proposed amendment to the thoroughfare plan include where the east-west road intersects within this tract of land?
We would ask that it do, yes.
Okay. So I want to be clear on kind of what you guys are recommending and what the applicant has requested. So we have a subdivision. It looks like there's 13 lots.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then within this subdivision, we have these thoroughfares that are on the master thoroughfare plan that would require roads within this subdivision. Is that correct?
As they show now, yes.
Okay. Are there any existing roads, paved, unpaved, in this area?
No.
There are no roads.
The nearest one is a small section. Let's see. Right, up here,
Yes.
and then down here at Clover, the development here of Clover would be a connecting road, so that's the closest.
Okay. So according to the subdivision ordinance, because there's roads from the thoroughfare plan running through this tract of land, they're required to provide these roads?
Yes,
Is that correct?
that is correct.
And the
unless-
right-of-way for those roads?
Yes.
Okay,
Unless-
so the right-of-way, what is the right-of-way for the north-south road and the east-west road?
Right now, the right-of-way that they are proposing.
What does the subdivision ordinance require?
The subdivision ordinance right now would list that north-south road, not the thoroughfare road, but the north-south road as a local road.
Okay? And what's the right-of-way for it?
It would be 50.
I'm sorry? 50 feet? And the minimum paving, 40?
Yes.
36?
40.
40.
It's a new road.
Okay, and then the east-west road, Clover,
Clover would also be a local road.
local road?
Yes.
I'm talking about the subdivision ordinance. Okay,
I didn't quite understand what you were asking.
thank you, John, for clarifying.
Yeah.
So are they both collector roads?
They are both.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's the right-of-way for a collector?
48, I believe. That's what we're,
For pavement width,
for pavement.
48 and 60
60.
for the
60 for right-of-way?
And one factor here is that the entirety of the collector is shown on this property.
Yes.
I think we would likely be supportive of shifting that to the boundary. It's not unusual
Right.
for a collector street like that to be along the boundary of a property, so one property owner has responsibility for half. The adjacent property would be responsible for half. However, as Sherry noted, that would take a thoroughfare plan amendment to do that. And so that's part of our recommendation would be for the applicant to request that thoroughfare plan amendment. And then this plat could come back and get them pretty close to where they want to be in terms of reduced responsibility for the collector road. They'd basically be responsible for half. Now, because you really don't want to build a half of a road.
Yeah.
Their width actually ends up slightly being more than half, but it's definitely less than the full width of a collector. But again, the proper process to achieve that is that thoroughfare plan amendment.
What is the minimum pavement width for a new road? I'm assuming there's a fire code minimum, is it 25 feet?
26?
26.
26 feet?
And then the adjacent property owner would only be responsible for improving if they were to develop or do something else.
That's right.
And with multiple, it looks like there's multiple property owners kind of, that would come up that jog, correct? So if the land where the future thoroughfare to the east sells off that portion, however long that section is, that would be improved to the wider street width. But as you come up towards, I believe, Clover, whoever owns that next section, it might jog back down, correct?
I'm not sure I followed
Yeah.
So
the jog part.
the property owner here, if this were to sell off and be developed, the road, they would be responsible for this, but at the very top portion, if that's a different property owner, and they do not divide that or develop it any further, again, the road would go back down to the 26 foot at that portion, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. So it could be wider and then narrow, and then, I mean, we do sometimes see that when
Your regular
properties
dogs.
develop in phases, that they'll go wider and narrower until the rest of the properties develop at some point.
Okay. And then my last questions are regarding utilities. You said there's no water or no sewer within 200 feet.
Yes, the
But that
nearest,
there's a wastewater collection system that's proposed, or is it septic?
it's septic.
Okay. And that fits within the 1 acre lots, so that's not an
Yes.
issue.
That's correct.
What about water? Is there city water
No.
close?
The closest, the city water is within the city limits itself. So there's city water
So just
both
to the-
on Clover and up at the top, just separated by that top.
Okay. Got it. Okay, I think that's it for my questions. Anyone else have questions?
They are wanting a variance from the boundary road section of our ordinance, which requires that they develop, when it's a boundary road in an area where there are no roads, that they develop that whole local road.
Even though it's in the ETJ.
And even though
Yes,
it's gonna,
it-
even though it's gonna connect to Clover, which is all curb and gutter in that subdivision that leads to it.
Ultimately,
Is
right.
Clover curb and gutter?
It is not it.
Thank you.
It
Okay.
does have curb.
Clover does?
It has curbs? Okay.
I run that street.
How wide is Clover?
Clover is a local road.
Okay.
But did it meet past width?
I'll be honest, I don't know at this point at the city. It does not look like it when you look up close.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else have questions? Trinidad, you look like you were going to ask a question. All right. Thank you, Sherry. We're going to open it up for public comment. If you wish to speak on this case, please state your name and address or single-member district.
Good morning. My name is Blake with Building Engineering. We're just here to ask for the approval as presented with the variance. However, the subdivision ordinance doesn't allow, like they're saying, for half a street in this area where it's a perimeter road. There's no existing road there. I mean, it has this little sentence at the end of the paragraph that says only full streets have to be done. So nobody's ever read that sentence before, and so we're asking for a variance from it. As they were saying, you know, we could move that street to the side, but it still requires us to build the whole street and do the whole right-of-way. So.
Okay, Blake, so I understand I think I understand your request.
Right.
You understand that even if you're granted the variance, the city's going to require, it is 26 feet for the fire lane? What's the minimum pavement width, even if we granted half? If we granted a half variance on this road?
Right.
Okay, you
For
understand
fire
that?
apparatus access, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
My mic is off. Another item to consider is, if it wasn't a collector street on the thoroughfare plan, they would still be responsible for a normal local street. So, we typically wouldn't let them go down to 26 anyway. So one option to consider is, not making them build the full collector, but to just have them build what would be a normal local street.
Okay. Is that 40 feet?
Yeah, it'd be 40 feet typically.
Okay. Okay.
Now, obviously, they're asking for less than that. And I think my understanding is part of what they're asking is not to do the, like curb and gutter on both sides, but just the one side. So basically, they're asking to shift it to the perimeter, shifting an obligation to that next property owner.
Okay.
And that's part of what we find problematic, because that property owner has no real knowledge of this occurring. And so
Right.
by approving their requested variances, you're effectively potentially shifting an obligation to that adjacent property owner.
Absolutely.
And that was going to be my question. How do you get the adjacent owner to agree to this if he's not, he has no plans for development? So how do they build the
They're not
street?
impacted until they plat it. So if there's any development that occurs in 100 years over there, it comes up at that point, but not before.
And what I'm looking for is, where does the land come from? Because doesn't the adjacent owner have to provide
They
half
would-
of the road?
But they would only do that at the time they develop.
So the road that's platted on there, Trinidad, is on the applicant's land, not on the other. So it is 26 feet or whatever it is.
Their other half,
Road which can't be,
exactly.
which we've agreed that can't be done. So I'm trying to figure out how we get a full road if the adjacent owner does not agree.
You would not get a full road immediately. So if you grant the variance and allow only half a road, it would be half a road until that those adjacent properties develop.
Which could be 100 years.
It could be, sure.
Yep.
If somebody comes in to develop it, it's just a surprise.
Yes.
Well, no, it's known. It would be known, but they're taking that cost burden. When that road shifts over, that adjacent landowner now becomes responsible for developing that road along their frontage, including granting their right-of-way.
And Trinidad, part of the reason for the request in here for them to, if they're going to do that, to shift the minor collector, the process requires the public hearings, requires notification to surrounding property owners to go through that whole process, so those property owners become aware that they are going, that it may be encumbering their property also.
Okay, so I want to go back to this, the staff's recommendation. You're recommending that we approve the subdivision but we denied the variance request. The denial is based on the location of the road.
It is, based on the location of the road.
So how can we approve this plat if it's conditioned on the road being relocated?
Well, it's not really, it's not like the road has to be relocated to the center of the lot. It can still be, they can move it at the edge. There's flexibility under the ordinance to move it. It's just, they would have to basically shave off a little bit of each of those lots to increase the width of the road where it is.
Okay,
So they
so,
wouldn't necessarily have to shift it, they would just have to widen it a little bit.
So where the road is showing on the plat that we're looking at the moment, that would therefore turn into the future thoroughfare road, correct?
That's right, and so at the narrowest points, there's a couple of points where you can see it narrows down to a kind of a bottleneck. Those would have to be widened sufficiently to get the required right-of-way.
Will that do anything to the ability to put septic on the lot? I can't read this.
It won't.
no, half acre is the minimum for septic, and they're well within that.
Yeah, all would still be well over an
These
acre.
are, yeah, these are over acre lots, it looks like. All of them are. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak on this case? If so, please come forward. All right, I'm going to close public comment. Anyone else want to share their thoughts or make a motion?
I don't particularly agree with the layout. I don't like halfway doing a road on that one side because they come off of a city road that is properly done.
And I agree with you.
Off of a subdivision that's been curbed and everything.
You've got 13 properties, so how much additional traffic do you think that's actually gonna cause?
I don't-
It's not being used as a
Right.
thoroughfare now, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah,
The problem is if there's development
in 10 years.
South
5
or
years, and it's a
in
lot.
other directions that uses this thoroughfare going forward.
If you go south to the Lakeview Heroes Way, there's a lot of cut-through traffic right there because of Lincoln Junior High. That's what it is, this is set up for.
Right.
Same similar scenario. That's my main challenge with it.
Has the property owner asked the adjacent properties to purchase any land in order to make the street width correct?
Doesn't look like it. Man, this is tough. I mean, obviously, we don't want to be anti-development, but this road's a problem, as I see it. I've served on the planning commission for a number of years, and early in the process, there was a subdivision that came through that I objected to allowing a variance for chat roads. And it was in the ETJ, and I knew it was going to be annexed into the city, and ultimately, the burden of those roads in that subdivision becomes the taxpayer's problem. And that's my concern here, is if we grant variances and this land gets annexed at some point down the road, it may not be in our lifetime, but I don't think it's fair for the taxpayers to foot the bill for fixing a substandard road to allow 13 lots to be developed today. So I think my position is in support of the staff. I'm okay with the plat the way it looks. I'm not okay with the variance for the road. But I would share others' thoughts if anyone want to make a motion. All right, you want to make a motion?
So we're gonna approve it but not accept
I'm just,
it.
yeah, that's the thing, I'm struggling to understand how we can approve the plat, but knowing that you are gonna have to, deal with the road.
I don't know how you can get a road in with the plat that's approved.
Yeah.
If you think there's significant enough changes that you would want to see it back, you could simply deny the plat as well for not meeting the subdivision ordinance standards.
Well,
and then have them
the
bring it
question is, can we approve the plat
Without having.
without the
change.
road? I mean, you've indicated that The road on this plat is substandard, it won't work.
Well, one of the conditions, the recommended conditions is build a road that meets the subdivision ordinance standards or get a variance. So if you were to approve it and deny the variance, they would have to revise it in such a way to meet the standard.
Right.
Now,
So-
that does take a substantial revision, so if you're not comfortable approving it, you could simply deny it and have them bring it back in the future.
I mean, I think we're effectively denying it, I think is what we're saying.
Yeah.
If the road on this plat doesn't meet the requirements, then how can we approve the plat?
And that's really up to you. We think you could approve it with those conditions, but it would warrant some substantial changes to the plat before it could be filed. It's sort of in the gray area of, if the changes were much more substantial, we would have just recommended denial.
Okay.
And that's clearly an option if you don't feel comfortable with approving it without the variance.
Okay? Anyone wish to make a motion?
Yes, but I don't know how. I guess I'm not,
I don't think it really matters if we approve or deny the plat, if the road's gonna have to be they're gonna have to submit a new plat that meets the road requirement if we deny the variance for the road.
I guess I make a motion that we deny and have them bring it back with the road corrected.
Okay? We have a motion on the table to deny.
So, okay, deny the whole thing.
Yes.
I mean, you kind of have to because it has to be fixed.
It kind of does the same thing.
Yep. We have a motion and a second to deny the plat. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 6-0. Okay.
And Travis, I think we need to take a quick break. We've got some issues on the agenda that we need to discuss.
Okay.
And maybe a 10-minute break to
Sure.
maybe
10
resolve
minutes.
those issues.
It is 9:45. Okay, it is 9:57, and I'm going to call this meeting of the Planning Commission back to order. Okay, so there have been some changes to the agenda from the one that was sent out on Friday to this morning. And so we've got three items that we're going to remove from the agenda. CP 2302 and PD 2304 Coliseum Drive, and SMD 2, PD 2305, a new PD out of PD 0703, 2909 South A&M, SMD 5, and Z 2305, 1065 North Main Street. Those three cases we are not going to hear this morning. They're going to likely be on next month's
Yes,
agenda.
and on that last one, you mentioned the zoning on Main Street. The applicant has requested that all of those items for Main Street be moved to next month, including the abandonment and the plat.
Okay, so items A and B, right-of-way abandonment, 1065 North Main Street, and RP 2312, Exall Edition, second replat Chapman subdivision, Block 5.
That's right. So we'll bring all of those back together as a package next month as well.
Okay, so those are not on today's agenda. So now we're going to go back to subdivision plats, and the second item, although it shows item C on both agendas, is RP 2310, second replat of Snyder's Edition, Block 11, a request for approval of a second replat in Lot 11, GW Snyder's Edition, and a variance request in Chapter 93A2, being Lot 11A and 11B, first replat in GW Snyder's Edition, according to the replat recorded in Cabinet H, Slide 60, plat records of Tom Green County. Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sherry Bailey, Senior Planner. This piece of property may look familiar to you. Last year, you did a replat that took that large piece of property that is on the northeast corner of Oaks and 16th and platted it into two lots. Since then, the owner of the property has changed, and the new owner would like to turn it into three lots. That is the only difference between the previous replat and this one. It is in the single-family residential district, RS1. As I indicated, it's located at the northeast intersection of North Oak Street and East 16th. It's in District 3, Mr. Thomas's district. It's the Reagan neighborhood. And the request for a variance is on the right-of-way width. This is in the infill area. We are going with the existing pavement on both Oaks and 16th with the infill area acknowledgement that we are dealing with an older area of town where there are lot-by-lot development. This is the proposed new plat, and you will see that there are sidewalks that are intended to be on the property. That was a requirement last year, and they've agreed to that. The East 16th is the corner lot that staff has visited with the applicant about. He is asking for a variance. The staff's representative is asking for a variance because the size of that lots on East 16th are now going to be 106 feet, and if they have to give another 5 foot of right-of-way, that will take it down to 101 feet, and they're concerned about that. The variance request last year was approved for the same piece of property for both the right-of-way and the pavement variance in the past, and are a little over a year ago because it comes in under the new infill on the pavement. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the plat and approval of the right-of-way variance of width on North Oak Street. 16th does have the right-of-way that is needed. North Oaks, if you've looked at it in reality, on the city's development map, you'll see that there's a skinny lot that runs down North Oaks in that area. There's confusion, is our understanding from GIS, on who the ownership is of that piece of property. I visited with the city engineer about this, and he's recommending the approval of the variance also, because quite frankly, we don't know who owns that piece of property.
Okay.
So with that, are there any questions?
You don't have questions for the staff? All right, we're going to open it up for public comment. If you wish to speak on this case, please come forward, state your name and address or single member district.
Good morning, Russell with SKG. For the street width on 16th Street, per our understanding of the subdivision ordinance is revised with the street widths, the minimum allowable width is 40 feet, and we have 40 feet right-of-way width on 16th, so we were just kind of curious why we would need to dedicate additional right-of-way.
Can you go back to the plat, please? Okay. It shows, sorry.
The right-of-way width that we're approving the variance on and requesting is North Oaks.
Correct, and then you asked for 5 feet dedication
Oh,
of right-of-way on 16th Street.
I'm thinking at that point in time, engineering hadn't gotten back to us on that. He was going to take a look at it, but since then, we've looked at it, and I just haven't made that change.
Okay, so we can remove note 2?
Yeah, it would just be North Oaks, not East 16th.
Russell, do you mind going back to that slide again? So the right-of-way on North Oaks varies. Is that, so it's 29 feet kind of on the northern end and 35 feet on the southern end?
Yes, sir, that's correct. If you look at the right-of-way map, it's the opposite side that's really the issue that really needs
Yes.
to be dedicated. Our side is in line. If we
Okay.
were to dedicate anything on ours, it would create
A jog.
a jog there. It's
Yes.
really the west side that really needs to be dedicated for right-of-way to align up with the way the right-of-way should be.
Okay. Is there, we're granting a right-of-way variance?
Yes, sir.
Is one of the requests for Oaks? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? Okay.
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right.
And would ask for your approval, I guess, strike condition 2 and then approve the variance and approve the plat. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. All right. Anyone else wish to speak on this case? All right, I'm going to close public comment and take thoughts or a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented, striking through item 2 in regards to the right-of-way on 16.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Brittany and Jeff to approve striking note 2. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? 6-0. All right, now we're jumping this one out. All right, we're on right-of-way abandonments. Right-of-way abandonment 201 Mill Spa, a request to abandon the 2 approximately 20-foot by 400-foot unimproved alleys and 1 unimproved street, Rio Grande, in blocks 5 and 8, Roslyn Place addition, between Mill Spa and Guthrie Street and Sherwood Way and San Antonio Street. And then item A, FP 2321 McGill Elementary School addition, request for approval of McGill Elementary School addition, section 1 being 6.032 acres of land and being all of blocks 5 and 8, Roslyn Place addition, and closed street and alleys therein according to the plat recorded in Cabinet F, slide 188, Tom Green County, Texas.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ray Lineberry, planner. And This one is, we're trying to clean up this area, so it is there are two alleyways that were originally marked. One is right here, and the other one is further down here. And then we have the street right here that they are requesting abandonment on. And then the plat kind of picks those up and incorporates them into the lot. The street is really not a street, it's more their parking lot if you've driven through McGill. And then the two alleyways, like I said, there's no way to drive through them. It is in Karen Hesse Smith's District 5, the Bluffs neighborhood, and it is RS1 zoning. So I have the abandonment on my left, and then the plat on the right. As you can see, they have moved the alleyway that originally went through the middle of the field, they have moved down here on the new plat. There was 27 notices mailed. We received 4 in favor, 0 in opposition. And staff is recommending approval of the final plat with the condition of providing a Tom Green County Appraisal District certification. We also are recommending approval on the alleyway and street abandonment with 4 conditions. They have to obtain approval of and officially record the subdivision plat. They have to remit the required fee to the city and verify the quitclaim deed is recorded, and then they do have to remove and replace the existing utilities move it to the new easement. Is there any further questions?
Anyone have questions for the staff? All right. Thank you, Ray. We're going to open it up for public comment.
Good morning, Russell with SKG. Would ask for your approval of this. Some of this is some cleanup stuff that the school district is looking to upgrade, renovate that campus, and so the way they're proposing to place the new buildings are going to be more to the southerly portion of this towards Sherwood Way. We found when council took action and closed the Rio Grande and then that alley, what we're calling Alley 2 to the south, but there was never really a formal quitclaim deed filed of the public record, so this is really just cleaning that up, get the district clear title for that. And then while we were in the process of this, we were just going to plat the whole property, replat the whole property as part of this. So I guess hopefully in the calculation of the fees, we're only going to be calculating the closure of what we would call Alley 1 in those fees, since the existing street and alley to the south is really formally been already kind of abandoned by city council. So we want to make sure that that's kind of leveled up on how the fees are paid. And then if you can go back to the conditions, there was, it's that proverbial which comes first of recording the plat or having the quitclaim deeds filed. Since the replat is inclusive of the entirety of the property, we need to have the quitclaim deeds filed first.
Yes.
And then be able to record the plat. So make sure we kind of, I'm understanding how the verbiage is meant to be covered there. So, and then on the removal of the existing utilities, there's a sewer main in that southern alley that's going to be right where the district is going to be building a new elementary school. And so we're going to relocate that. We may need to speak some logistics with the staff on timing or performance agreements or something, developer agreement that would allow us to get the plat recorded so that they can get building permits and hire contractors to start the work and relocate the sewer main. So maybe we can have a discussion on logistically how to kind of get everything done that we need to get done on timing and recording of plats and relocating utility lines and the like. So hopefully the verbiage here is kind of loose enough that we have the ability to have that discussion about a developer's agreement.
It does say you can note it on the plat.
Okay, great. Be happy to answer any questions.
I think we're,
So Russell, when we motion on this, are you asking for those specifics to be outlined in the motion?
I think we're,
On recording the plat and the deed, yeah, we just need to coordinate, and I think a lot of times we try and go at the same time. I mean, I don't know, planning signs off on that, but yeah, my recommendation is we do the plat and the deed. We both go to the county clerk and kind of record them in whatever order, but it's done like simultaneously, yeah.
okay.
in the past, what we've done is we've submitted we prepared the exhibit for the field notes. The city attorney prepares a quitclaim deed that gets signed. In the past, it's come to us, and we've gone and recorded the quitclaim deed, and then because you got to write the recording information of the quitclaim deed on the plat to cover those lots. So we'll kind of take them both down there, and so, yeah, if we can just coordinate getting all of that stuff signed and work together, so.
Brandon, we can't do anything regarding like stating about the fees, about as Russell mentioned, the fees just for the one abandonment, right? Like that's
Yeah,
all
I
you
mean,
guys.
if they've already been abandoned, then I don't think those would be included in any fees, but I mean, this board can't like adjust that.
Right, yeah, we're not asking,
Okay.
that's more of just kind of a point of note, clarification, that we're all on kind of the same page with that.
But yeah, our real estate department, we need to go talk to them and yeah, we can figure that out.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Russell. All right, anyone else wish to speak on this case? All right, I'm going to close public comment and take thoughts or a motion. All right, we have a motion and a second by Brittany and Candy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 6-0. Conditional uses. The Planning Commission has final authority for approval of conditional uses. Appeals may be directed to the City Council. CU 2309 3030 South Chadbourn. A request for approval of a conditional use to allow a short-term rental in the Ranch and Estate Zoning District located at 3030 South Chadbourn Street.
Good morning, Ray Lineberry again. So this is a short-term rental in the R&E zoning. It is District 3, Harry Thomas in the Glenmore neighborhood. Pictures, there is a gate and it is a paved driveway all the way down. And then I did do pictures of Chadbourn. So it isn't directly off the street, so no street parking or anything is a concern. We did 5 notices and 0 in favor. We did receive the 1 in opposition, but there was no comment or anything like that. They just marked opposed. And the impacts will be minimized. It's consistent with the zoning ordinance. It's compatible with the surrounding area. No foreseen adverse effects on the environment. We do not have very many short-term rentals in the Glenmore area, and there is no altering of existing structures or anything that would not be in the development patterns. So staff is recommending approval with the 3 conditions that they maintain their paved parking. It is paved. So they just need to maintain their paved parking, obtain a certificate of occupancy, and obtain an annual fire inspection.
All right, any questions for the staff? Thank you, Ray. Oh, yes, sir, please.
They would have
Is
to.
it just for the house? Or the
It is for the lot.
So-
The conditional use is for the lot. So at the time they come up for renewal, we would look at, what else they
What-
built and everything like that.
And/or, I mean, I guess could you put, would an RV park in there? This is a big lot. This is a different
Well-
typical.
It's just zoned ranch and estate, so they'd have to rezone it to do an
Yeah,
RV
they have to
park.
rezone.
Okay, I'm just
And
curious.
It is an apple orchard, so they would have to tear down all those apple trees
Right,
and everything,
right, yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Don't want
I'm
that.
just curious. It's not your typical short-term rental you see.
That would be
Sounds
a
awesome.
beautiful short-term rental.
Okay, cool. That's all I had.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
All right, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this case, please come forward, state your name and address or single member district. I'm going to close public comment and take a motion.
Approve as presented.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second by Brittany and Joe to approve as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? 6-0. CU 2310, 3206 Webster Street. Request for approval of a conditional use to allow short-term rental in the single-family residential RS1 zoning district located at 3206 Webster Avenue.
So this is another short-term rental. We have two more after this, but this is in RS1 zoning, District 2, Tom Thompson, Angelo Heights neighborhood. The front of the house and then down the streets, they do have paved parking. And I did see a picture online that I did not put in here that it does show two cars fit in that driveway. So,
Tandem or side by side?
tandem.
Tandem.
27 notices were mailed out, 0 in favor. The one in opposition wrote a little note on theirs, but all it said was the alleyway will be blocked.
Okay.
I didn't drive down the alleyway because I didn't think of that. The driveway does not go to the alleyway, so I'm not sure why they say that, but that is the reasoning for opposing, is the alleyway will be blocked. Again, impacts are minimized. It is consistent with the zoning ordinance. It is compatible with the surrounding area as it's residential. There is no adverse effects on the environment. It is needed in the Angelo Heights area, and they don't plan on any altering. So staff does recommend approval to maintain with the conditions of maintaining parking, obtain a certificate of occupancy, and obtain the annual fire inspection.
Okay. Anyone have questions for the staff? All right, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward, state your name and address or single member district.
Morning, Silas Evans. This is my fiance Samantha. We're the property owners for 3206 Webster Street. We're just here to answer any questions you guys may have.
Anyone have questions for the applicants? I think we're good.
Alrighty, and as far as the note with blocking the alleyway, the driveway doesn't go back there, and short-term renters won't have access to it, so it shouldn't be a problem. But we're excited. This is my hometown, so I'm excited to spruce it up and make it honor my hometown. So
We're glad you guys are doing it.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. All right, anyone else wish to speak on this case? All right, I'm going to close public comment and take thoughts or a motion.
Move that we accept as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Joe and Brittany. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 6-0. All right. CU 2311, 3101 Sierra Drive. A request for approval of a conditional use to allow short-term rental in the single-family residential zoning district, RS1, located at 3101 Sierra Drive.
Hello, Rayline Berry again. This is another short-term rental, RS1 zoning, District 1, Tommy Hebert in the Southland neighborhood. Pictures of the front of the house, and the driveway is in the back off the alleyway. Not the front of the house, but it is paved and you can fit two cars there.
Okay.
We did receive two in opposition. They didn't write why or anything, so
It looks like one of those was outside the boundary anyway.
It's barely in it.
the corner touches, yeah.
Barely.
Yeah. The impacts will be minimized. It is consistent with the zoning ordinance. It's compatible with the surrounding area as it is all residential. There is no adverse effects on the environment. Southland area does not really have any, and they do not plan on altering any of the existing structures. So staff is recommending approval as long as they maintain their parking, they obtain a certificate of occupancy, and they obtain an annual fire inspection.
Okay. Anyone have questions for the staff? Thank you, Ray. I'm going to open it up for public comment.
Hello, my name's Chad Meeks, SMD1. I own this property and the next on the agenda. Looking forward to making these short-term rentals so we can maintain control of the property and upkeep and of the yard and the house itself, as opposed to having a long-term rental. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chad. All right, anyone else wish to speak on this case? I'm going to close public comment and take a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Candy and Trinidad to approve as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 6-0. CU 2312, 2227 San Antonio Street. Request for approval of conditional use to allow short-term rental. The single-family residential zoning district, RS1, located at 2227 San Antonio Street.
Ray Lineberry again, and this is another short-term rental in RS1 zoning, District 5, Karen Hesse Smith in the central neighborhood. Picture of the front of the house, and then down one of the streets. I couldn't take a picture down the other street because there actually happened to be an accident. I didn't really want to get an accident in the picture. But
Okay.
you see, it is wide enough. There's a stop sign right there, and a person decided to run the stop sign. So, and then we mailed 32 notices, 0 in favor. We did receive 1 in opposition. They didn't write anything. They just marked opposed. Minimize impacts. They are consistent with the zoning ordinance. It is compatible with the area as it is residential. There is no foreseen adverse effects on the environment. It is a community need in the central area, and they do not plan on any alterations that might affect the development patterns. They will maintain their off-street parking, obtain a certificate of occupancy, and obtain an annual fire inspection.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for staff? All right. Thanks again, Ray. But opening it up for public comment. Goodness, I'm stumbling around. Anyone wish to speak on this, please come forward, state your name and address. All right, I'm going to close public comment and take a motion.
Motion approved as presented.
All right, so we have a motion and second by Brittany and Candy. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed? 6-0. All right, public comment. Issues or concerns not on the regular agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, address all comments to the dais, and begin by stating their name and address in single-member district. Please limit remarks to 3 minutes. I'm going to open up public comment. No comments. I'm going to close public comment. Planning Director's report.
Just one thing related to short-term rentals. I think we mentioned to you before, we're going to be looking at some ordinance changes, maybe making some like renewals administrative if they meet certain conditions, no complaints from neighbors, that sort of thing. Just wanted to update you on that. We're basically waiting. There's some bills in the legislature right now. The legislative session ends, I think, at the end of this month. So
Yes.
we should know pretty quickly if there are any bills that affect it. We just didn't want to bring forward an ordinance and then have to change it again in 2 months because of the legislature. So that will still be coming in the near future. I'm sorry, speaking of that, we're also looking at some changes. We had talked about accessory dwelling units.
Yes.
With you all. There's also a bill in the legislature regarding accessory dwelling units that we're waiting to see how they decide on before we bring that back as well.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Future meeting agenda and announcements. The next regular meeting of the Planning Commission is scheduled to begin at 9 a.m. on Monday, June 19th, 2023 at the East Mezzanine of City Hall, 72 West College Avenue, San Angelo, Texas. Adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All right. So we have a motion and a second by Luke and Joe to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. 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 Opposed?